Imagine your air conditioning just completely dies in the middle of a brutal heat wave.
Oh, the worst timing.
Right. So you call a local repairman and you're expecting, a quick favor.
Yeah, just send a guy out.
Exactly. But what you probably don't realize is that the second you say hello, you've actually triggered this tactical data extraction.
It really is.
It's this whole process designed to legally bind you, map out the physical vulnerabilities of your property, and, honestly, assign a permanent hidden judgment to your phone number.
Yeah, it totally shatters the illusion of just a simple transaction. I mean, we tend to view local services as point A to point B, right?
Yeah.
Like you have a broken pipe or a dead condenser and they have a truck and a wrench.
Right, a simple trade.
Exactly. But stepping into the operational back end of these companies, it reveals this diagnostic and logistical landscape that is just intensely structured.
It's massive.
It really is the absolute definition of a rigorously controlled data ecosystem.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive today. We actually got our hands on a highly specific, purely internal document.
Which is so rare to see.
It really is. We are looking at a standard operating procedure. Specifically, it's SOP version 9.7.25 from a company called Hartzell's Heat and Air.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was updated on April 2, 2026 by a Dave Hartzell.
So this is very recent, very real.
Completely. And, you might think you're just calling to get some cold air flowing in your living room again, but this manual outlines how you are immediately categorized, tagged, and slotted right into this complex operational database.
Well, the contrast between the caller's experience and the company's reality is just striking.
Oh, absolutely.
Because to the person who's just sweating in their house, it just sounds like a friendly customer service rep trying to help them out.
Yeah, how can I help you today?
Right. But to the company, it's this high-stakes, tightly scripted extraction of critical info. I mean, a single typo here can literally cost thousands of dollars.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because on its face, a customer creation SOP for a piece of dispatch software, in this case, it's a platform called House Call Pro, or HCP.
Right. Very common software.
Yeah. So it sounds incredibly dry, right? You hear standard operating procedure and you immediately think of like a dusty IT manual in a binder somewhere.
Yeah, totally.
But reading through these pages, it functions way more like a tactical playbook.
Oh, for sure.
It's designed to orchestrate this flawless real-world service mission, all while desperately trying to prevent human error from causing a complete digital disaster.
Well, the stakes for getting that initial data correct are surprisingly high. The digital records and the physical reality of those expensive trucks out on the road, they are completely tethered to one another.
Right.
If the data is logged incorrectly during that very first phone call, I mean, the physical truck might end up at the wrong house.
Which happens all the time, I'm sure.
All the time. Or the technician might walk into a hazardous situation totally blind. Or, honestly, the wrong person could end up receiving a massive invoice.
So let's start right where the source material begins, which is at the very first point of contact.
Okay, the phone call.
Yeah, the phone rings, the customer service representative, the CSR answers, and this supposedly friendly greeting immediately turns into a highly structured interrogation.
Yeah, they don't waste any time.
Not at all. The script dictates that they say, Hartzell's Heat and Air, this is so-and-so, how can I help you today? But the very next step is where the vetting process begins.
Right.
They don't just ask for your name. The SOP mandates asking for the caller's full name and specifically notes to capture the spelling as it appears on your ID or email.
Which signals immediately that this is a formalized legal relationship being established.
Exactly.
They're essentially preparing a contract from the very first breath.
And then they hit you with the authority questions?
Oh, the interrogation continues.
Yeah. They ask, are you the property owner? If not, what's your relationship to the property? Are you a tenant, a property manager, an HOA rep?
They really need to know who they're talking to.
Right. They ask, are you actually authorized to approve work? And if someone else is paying, the CSR has to pivot immediately to collecting that third party's full information. Their name, their company, email, phone number, all of it.
It's a lot of data right up front.
It is. And honestly, I have to push back a little on this rigid protocol from the customer's perspective.
Okay, sure.
Like, if I am calling because water is literally pouring through my ceiling or it's 100 degrees outside and I'm sweltering, I am in a total state of panic.
Yeah, you just want help.
Right. I just want a problem fixed. Why this sudden inquisition about my legal relationship to the property? It just feels incredibly bureaucratic for an emergency scenario.
Well, what's fascinating here is that the software architecture is intentionally designed to override human empathy in favor of legal boundaries.
Override empathy? That sounds harsh.
It does, but think about the reality of home services from the business's side for a second.
Oh.
You have a CSR on the phone listening to a distressed tenant whose house is sweltering. Human nature says, I will send someone to help you right now.
Of course.
But the business cannot afford to operate on empathy alone. If a technician goes out to a rental property on just the tenant's authorization, rips out a dead compressor, and installs $5,000 worth of new equipment.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, they eventually have to hand someone the bill.
And when they hand it to the landlord could simply say, I never authorized this work. You had absolutely no right to alter my property.
Exactly.
Right.
And suddenly the company is out thousands of dollars in parts and labor. The new equipment is legally attached to someone else's real estate.
Wow. Yeah.
And it just spirals into this massive liability issue. So the SOP forces the CSR to establish a crucial distinction right out of the gate.
Which is?
It separates who approves the physical access from who pays the financial bill.
Okay, and that distinction is hard-coded into their dispatch software through something they call the parent-child billing structure.
Right, in House Call Pro.
Yeah. So if you rent your home, just think about how this affects you. When you call in a panic, the system is already treating you as a potential liability risk.
Essentially, yes.
You are set up as a sub-customer or a child account. You are granted the authority to approve the technician walking through the front door, and you receive the text messages saying the truck is on the way.
But the landlord, or the property management company, they're categorized as the parent account.
Right.
The system just bifurcates the communication entirely.
Right.
The software ensures that the parent account is the only entity receiving the actual invoices.
And the estimates.
Exactly. The estimates for major repairs, the final receipts. It basically demands that the dispatcher knows who holds the purse strings before a technician is even put on the schedule.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, it protects the service company from performing unauthorized labor, and honestly, it protects the property owner from rogue tenants ordering premium upgrades.
So the system locks down the legal hierarchy before a wrench is ever even lifted. But securing financial authorization doesn't actually get a physical truck into your driveway.
No, it does not.
That requires locking down the physical geography. And the SOP is arguably even more rigid about mapping your location.
Oh, the routing protocols are intense.
They really are. They mandate that the CSR capture an SMS-capable phone number, and it must be saved in the field specifically labeled mobile, not home, not work.
Well, this is a perfect illustration of how software design dictates human behavior.
How do you mean?
House Call Pro's backend is programmed to only send automated text updates to numbers parked in that exact mobile data field.
Which means if a rush dispatcher types a perfectly valid cell phone number into the home field by mistake, the entire communication chain just breaks down.
Right, the system won't recognize it as textable.
So the automated, your technician is arriving in 20 minutes, text never actually fires.
Nope.
And then the customer assumes no one is coming, so they leave to go to the store. The technician arrives at an empty house.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, the customer gets angry, calls the office to complain, and the dispatcher has to spend 20 minutes untangling this mess created by just a single misclicked data field.
It creates a massive drag on the day's operations. And the same level of granular control applies to how they enter the physical street address, too.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. The dispatcher is strictly forbidden from typing your address in freehand.
Right, no typing it out.
The SOP demands they start typing and then select the specific address from House Call Pro's Google drop-down menu. They call it the Google Verified rule.
Yeah, and the document is explicit about why this is required. It ensures the map pins and the local time zones are perfectly calibrated for the routing API.
It feels like they are planning a tactical insertion, honestly.
It kind of is.
A service call isn't just a friendly visit, it's a logistical puzzle with a ticking clock.
Absolutely.
The CSR isn't just taking down a street name, they are literally mapping out the perimeter. The SOP draws this hard, obsessive line between two different text boxes, address notes and customer notes.
And that separation of data is so vital for risk mitigation on the road.
Right. So address alerts are strictly reserved for location-specific hurdles.
Like gate codes.
Gate codes. Elevator access rules, maybe parking restrictions for oversized commercial vehicles, or security desks.
Physical barriers.
Exactly. What are the physical barriers preventing the technician from breaching the perimeter and reaching the objective?
Right.
Customer notes, on the other hand, are for the behavioral quirks attached to the humans actually living there.
Like what?
Like a note that the customer only speaks Spanish, or that they have an aggressive dog in the backyard, or that they prefer the technician uses the side door.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture of operational efficiency, a dispatcher's primary role is really protecting the technician's time.
Time is money.
It is.
Mm.
A bad map pin or a missing gate code, it creates this cascading failure across the entire schedule.
I can imagine.
Imagine a highly paid technician sitting idle at a gated community for 20 minutes just because the dispatcher put the gate code in the wrong notes field and it didn't push to the technician's iPad.
Oh, wow.
That is 20 minutes of lost labor, wasted fuel, idling the diesel truck, and a delay that pushes every subsequent appointment back for the rest of the day.
So by the time they get to their 4 o'clock appointment, they are 2 hours late and dealing with a furious homeowner.
Exactly. So by forcing the dispatcher to use a Google-verified address and strictly categorizing the physical barriers to entry, the SOP is attempting to bulletproof the technician's route against the messy reality of the physical world.
That makes total sense.
The routing algorithm needs clean data to calculate drive times accurately. If the dispatcher types Saint instead of street or forgets a north directional, a human driver might eventually figure it out.
Sure, humans can adapt.
Right, but the software calculating the most efficient path for a fleet of trucks, it will just fail.
So once the financial authority and the physical perimeter are completely locked in the system, you'd think the interrogation would pivot heavily toward the actual broken machine.
You would think so.
Right. But reading this SOP reveals a very strict division of labor between the person sitting on the phone in the office and the person out in the field.
Yeah, there is a clear boundary of responsibility regarding the actual technical data.
So the office staff isn't trusted with the engineering specifics?
Not at all.
On the phone, the CSR only captures the broad strokes of the layout. The SOP provides this quick data template for the dispatcher to copy and paste right into the job notes.
Just to keep it standard.
Yeah. They are instructed to ask, where is the AHU, which stands for the air handling unit, the indoor half of the system.
Right.
Is it in the attic, a hall closet, the garage? And then where is the condenser? Is it in the side yard, on the roof, on an apartment balcony?
They need to know where to walk when they get there.
Exactly. They also ask about access restrictions. Does the technician need an incredibly tall ladder to reach an attic hatch? Do they need to get a special roof key from the building superintendent? Do they need to pull permits for the work?
Well, the inclusion of permits there is a critical detail.
Why is that?
Asking about permits during the intake call really highlights the legal stakes we discussed earlier.
Oh, right.
If a technician starts ripping out a heavy commercial condenser on the roof of a strict condominium building without the proper city or HOA permits pulled beforehand, the company could face massive fines.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, or they could even risk their local operating license. The CSR is basically gathering the legal scaffolding for the job before a tool is ever lifted.
That is wild. But looking at this quick data template, I have a major logistical question.
Okay, let's hear it.
The dispatcher already has the customer on the phone. They are asking about property management and gate codes. Wouldn't it save the technician a massive amount of time if the dispatcher just asked the caller, hey, what is the exact make and model of your air conditioning unit? Right there on the phone.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, why wait for the technician to drive all the way out there to gather that data?
Well, that seems like an obvious shortcut, but it hits on a fundamental truth of the service industry.
Which is?
Customers are wildly unreliable narrators when it comes to their own complex hardware.
Unreliable narrators. So the company just operates on the assumption that the homeowner has absolutely no idea what is actually sitting in their own backyard.
Completely. I mean, consider the alternative.
Okay.
If a dispatcher asks a homeowner for the make and model of their system, the homeowner might just read the brand name off the thermostat on the wall.
Oh, which has nothing to do with the machinery outside.
Exactly. Or they might go outside, look at a faded sun-bleached sticker on the condenser, and read off a serial number from a totally different electrical component.
That sounds like a disaster.
It is. Or, most likely, they will just say, it's a big gray box that makes cold air.
Right. It's gray and it's broken. Please come fix it. And if the dispatcher types carrier system, based on the customer's wild guess,
then the company might preemptively order a $2,000 replacement part for a carrier system, only to have the technician arrive on site and discover the unit is actually manufactured by Trane.
oh man, that is an expensive mistake.
Huge. So the SOP explicitly prevents this scenario by relying on a mechanism called the property profile.
Right, the property profile. The document states that after the very first visit, the technician and only the technician must add the full unit details into this permanent property profile.
Yeah.
They have to log the make, the model, the exact serial numbers, and take verifiable photos of the data plates.
See, the system relies entirely on the trained eyes of a technician to populate that permanent record.
Because they actually know what they're looking at.
Exactly. The CSR maps the physical location so the tech knows whether to walk to the attic or the backyard. But the tech maps the machinery itself.
That makes a lot of sense.
And that property profile becomes a living, factual document tied to that specific geographic address. It exists completely independent of whatever the current customer thinks they own.
Right.
It protects the company from making expensive logistical decisions based on a customer's ignorance.
So we have this beautifully structured data ecosystem.
It really is elegant in a way.
It is. The legal liability is managed with parent-child billing. The routing is protected by Google-verified maps. The equipment data is verified by technicians in the property profile.
All locked down.
But the outline of this SOP has a whole section dedicated to ensuring this pristine environment isn't ruined by what I can only describe as the ultimate sin in House Call Pro.
Oh, yeah. Duplicates.
Duplicates.
Data pollution.
Yeah.
It really is the silent killer of any customer relationship management software.
How bad can it be?
A duplicate profile is essentially a fracture in the company's reality.
A fracture in reality. To combat this, the SOP outlines a strict prior business safeguard. Dispatchers are mandated to verbally ask the customer, "Have we serviced you before?"
But they can't just take their word for it.
Right. They are not allowed to simply trust a no. They have to physically search the software database by the caller's phone number, by their email, and by their street address before they are ever allowed to click the Create Customer button.
And if they do uncover a duplicate entry, the protocol dictates they must use a specialized tool called Manage and Merge Duplicate Customers.
Okay, to fix it.
Yeah, to consolidate all the fragmented information into one master profile.
They even build out protocols for complex edge cases, which is fascinating.
Like what?
Like, if a commercial client has a corporate headquarters but manages 20 different retail locations, the SOP dictates there is only one master customer profile with all the 20 addresses nested underneath it.
Oh, that keeps it clean.
Very clean. If a tenant moves out and a new one moves in, the new tenant is set as a new subcustomer under the existing landlord's parent account. And then there are the customer tags.
Ah, the tags.
Dispatchers assign permanent metadata labels to these profiles. Tags like residential, VIP, maintenance plan, HOA, and honestly, my personal favorite, the web-only do not service tag.
Yeah, the do not service tag is a very powerful mechanism.
So what does this all mean? To me, it's like a digital bouncer standing outside an exclusive club.
That's a great way to put it.
You call in, completely unaware, but your phone number is instantly tied to this hidden VIP rope.
Yep.
That single tag determines whether a fully equipped truck is dispatched to your house with priority speed, or if your call is politely declined by a dispatcher who claims they are, fully booked for the week.
This raises an important question, though, about why this level of database hygiene is so heavily enforced.
Why is it?
Well, merging duplicates and applying these tags isn't just an administrative exercise to keep the software looking tidy.
It's not just about neatness.
No, it is fundamentally about preserving the historical context of the business.
The history of the hardware and the history of the customer's behavior.
Exactly. Think about where the actual value of a service business resides.
Okay.
If a dispatcher creates a brand new duplicate profile for a customer named John Smith, simply because John called from a new work cell phone number, that new profile has zero history attached to it.
Right.
When the technician drives out to John's house, they are flying totally blind.
They don't know anything about him.
But if the dispatcher follows the SOP and merges that new phone number into John's original profile, the technician can pull up their iPad and look at the entire historical timeline in the Jobs, Estimates, and Invoices tabs.
They can see the whole story of that specific house.
They can see that John Smith's air conditioning unit has suffered from the exact same Freon leak 3 times in the last 2 years.
Wow.
They can see that the company previously offered him a quote for a full system replacement and that he declined it.
So they know what they're walking into.
Exactly. They can see if he's tagged as a VIP who buys premium filters or if he's a chronic late payer who argues over every single invoice.
That is so much intelligence.
That historical context is the actual lifeblood of the company. It allows the technician to step out of the truck not just as a repairman reacting to a broken part, but as an informed consultant who understands the ongoing narrative of the equipment.
Wow.
The database is the company's memory.
Yeah.
If you allow duplicate profiles to fracture that data, you literally give the company operational amnesia.
You give the company amnesia. That frames the entire document perfectly, honestly.
It really does.
What starts as a simple, panicky, how can I help you on the phone is actually the entry point into an ecosystem designed to turn human messiness into absolute operational precision.
Yeah.
We've seen how spelling a name correctly establishes a legal contract. We've explored how a simple drop-down menu for a Google-verified address prevents routing algorithms from failing and cascading delays onto other customers.
The whole day falls apart without it.
Right. We've examined the strict division of labor, where the office maps the physical perimeter, but only the verified eyes of a technician are trusted to catalog the actual machinery.
Because customers just guess.
Exactly. And finally, we saw the rigorous defenses put in place against amnesia, hunting down duplicate profiles to preserve the historical memory of the business.
It really makes you pause and rethink the massive, invisible infrastructure operating behind the scenes of our everyday lives.
It totally does.
I mean, the sheer amount of architectural design required just to fix a broken pipe or dead air conditioner without the business collapsing under its own liability.
It is staggering when you lay it all out like that. Which brings us to the end of our deep dive today. But before we go, we want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over.
A little food for thought.
Exactly. We've spent this entire time talking about how one specific company tags, tracks, and manages your digital footprint within their own isolated software.
But consider the trajectory of technology right now. Right now, your HVAC company has a house call profile on you. Your local plumber likely uses a similar dispatch system. Your electrician has another.
Right, they all have their own little islands of data.
Exactly. But what happens when these specialized, localized software platforms inevitably start sharing data through interconnected APIs?
Oh, wow. That is a wild thought.
If your plumber software suddenly merges its behavioral data with your electrician system.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Does a chronic late payer or a do not service tag issued by one contractor suddenly follow you around to every local business in town?
You'd be blacklisted everywhere.
Could you find yourself entirely locked out of local home services just because these isolated memory banks started talking to each other?
That is terrifying. You might think you're just calling for a quick favor, but remember, you're stepping into a machine that never forgets. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the hidden systems in your everyday life. We'll catch you next time.